Hey guys, welcome to the PS Flavor Cooking Club. I'm Nicole Ramsland. This is Pam Smith. She'll be our chef tonight and every night of the cooking club because it's the best food and we are so excited that you're here with us.
And doubly excited because it's the holidays.
Yay.
Happy holidays to you. We're kind of all caught up in the whole of gift buying and gift wrapping and gift giving, and somehow in the midst of it, visions of sugar plums. It's a crazy time of year. I think we all know that. So we decided that maybe for this particular cooking club class, we would make it something that is pretty easy and very doable and very applicable, because the very meal that we're preparing right now is the very meal that we'll be having on Christmas morning. It's the very meal that we've had for a lot of Christmas mornings. Sometimes we do a little Christmas Eve brunch where we bring lots of people over and we do lots of dishes, but this is a go-to dish. The pancakes we're going to be making are perfect for a crowd because the oven does the work, as you'll soon see. A little bit of some wonderful sausage, even a little Texy Marys. So got some fun things to do, and if this is your dinner, you may know there's nothing cooler than breakfast for dinner, and we're doing it right now.
I know, I was really excited. This is our 12th cooking class that we've done with the PS Flavor Club. We started in January, kind of ate our way through the seasons and made our way to December. We've got great things coming up in 2019 that we'll be sharing with you, but we kind of want to get started with this class first. So we'll celebrate. We want to talk a little bit about technology because we always say, no stress kitchen.
Absolutely. Tonight more than maybe ever before.
Yes.
Yes.
If your internet goes down, we love you. We have plenty of grace for you, and we would ask that you have the same for us. We lost our internet this afternoon, and it came on just about 20 minutes before the class. So we're taking a sigh of relief. We're happy to be with you. If the internet goes down, keep following your recipe. You have this booklet if you have bought the spice kit at psflavorclub.com. Otherwise, just hop on the Facebook page, the files tab, print out the recipe, and you can keep going. But hopefully we'll make it through the class, internet full speed and on. If yours goes down, hop back on, catch up, and we'll have a great meal.
And we always upload the entire class once we're finished, both to Facebook, but also to YouTube.
Yes.
So if you miss it all together and just decide, I'm just going to cook, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, do that.
Yes.
And then later you can come back and see the whole thing. And that makes it really, really good. We're going to be making, as I mentioned before, a little Texy Mary, but until we get there, I also offered in my PAM'S pairings what you also could pair with this kind of a brunch. And bubbles are always perfect for brunch. And there's something really special about pink bubbles for brunch. And so that's what we're starting with. This is a beautiful little Chandon, Gruet Rosé, and little bubbles, little niceness. So with that, we'll say cheers to you. And in just a little bit, we'll get our meal ready and then we can say bon appetit.
Yes, and I'm going to go grab the camera so we can get some close-ups of what you're doing. Tonight we're making an apple chai puff pancake. Can't wait, it's my favorite.
And in line with that, the first thing you need to do, if you haven't already, is looking at your recipe, get your oven turned on. It should be set to 425, which is a pretty high heat. Look inside, make sure you don't have any baking pans or anything in there, which is where we usually store ours because I like to heat our baking pans when I'm roasting vegetables. But today we're going to be putting the pancake in. So pull those out, get that temperature set up to 425, let it be heating while we're putting together the puff pancake, as we call it. And with chai spice, oh my chai is kind of our favorite spice of the moment. I'm not sure it's not going to be our favorite spice of the day. So again, cheers to you.
Now, if you have any questions as we're going, we have Spice Girl Jenna back here ready to take them. So just type out your question and we'll get that read so that Pam can answer it for you live.
This particular pancake you may see in recipes as a Dutch baby or as a Dutch apple pancake. And we're going to be using apples because it's the season. We could use pears. In the summer, I switch this to peaches or nectarines, sometimes peaches with blueberries. sometimes nectarines with raspberries. I switch it up and do a triple berry. Any kind of fruit works with this. The key is that you're using the technique to get this beautiful rise, hence the term puff pancake. And when you get it into the oven, the heat allows the, again, steam that's within this product to really give this beautiful rise. Well, at least that's always what we hope. Regardless, once you get it out of the oven, you're going to get the fruit in it. It's going to fall, but you're just left with this really amazing texture. Beautiful, beautiful pancake to serve rather than having to cook them to order. Instead, you're pulling it out of the oven. Any of this can be mixed up in advance the night before, and then you can just literally, as those presents start to be opened, can get this into the oven. It's going to cook for about 20 minutes. So depending on how quickly your present openers open presents, you might have it all together. We're starting with flour. Again, that's kind of the classic. I use a whole wheat pastry flour. If you have any trouble finding that, you could use a whole wheat flour together with an all-purpose flour, half and half. The whole wheat pastry not only gives, again, that little bit of extra goodness because it's all the whole grain, the fiber, the nutrients that are there, but it's also, because it's pastry flour, a little lighter flour, so it's giving more rise. So again, any trouble finding that, just do a half and half. To this, we're going to add just a little bit of stuff. We're going to add some baking powder, going to add a little bit of sugar in the raw, and we're going to add some Mai Chai, about a tablespoon. Now, if some of you have not yet experienced Mai Chai or haven't seen this song, incredible song called Spice Spice Baby, then you're not yet aware that this might be about the best spice ever. We keep saying pumpkin spice, move over. There's a new kid in town. It's a beautiful blending of cinnamon and ginger, some cardamom and cloves, nutmeg, little turmeric and black pepper, little touch of sugar in the raw. It's just amazing. People are putting it in everything from oatmeal to yogurt to mixing it into milk. And what we're doing today is making this incredible puff pancake. So that quite easily just gets mixed together. Usually like to add just a little touch of salt to that as well. Anytime I'm cooking with any kind of baked product, just a little touch of salt helps to kind of balance that baked product together. You tend to not think about having savory together with sweet, but it's always about the balance. So we have that mix. So next up, we're going to get started on our liquid. And this is not only an incredible pancake, this is a very high protein pancake. Why? Because it has 5 eggs to it. Now you can use egg beaters if you prefer. You can use all egg whites if you would prefer. That works out fantastically. But again, we're using whole eggs. I use large eggs. I, yes, do like cage-free eggs. A lot of controversy that goes with that, but I always go for those that are a little bit higher in omega-3s. We're going to get those 5 eggs into our dish and just start to break up those yolks, because then into that we're going to add our milk and a little bit of vanilla paste. Vanilla or vanilla extract. I happen to have vanilla paste, which I'm quite crazy about. It's a product that's made by a company called Nielsen Massey. You can find it at Williams & Sonoma. You can find it at Home Goods. You can find it in so many places, but it's really a beautiful expression of the vanilla because it has the actual vanilla bean seeds in it in addition. Regular vanilla extract works out fine as well. Just that little touch that goes into the eggs, and then we'll add the milk as well.
And while you're doing that, we did have a few people start craving some Mai Chai while you were talking about it and asked where they can get it.
Yes.
The Mai Chai is our seasonal blend, which means it will be available for the rest of this season until December 31st. And it is available at psflavor.com. Also, all of the things needed for this recipe, the spices in one little box, are available at psflavorclub.com. So either one will take you to my chai, mocha chili, and Texy taco.
Which we'll be using all three in this particular night because we're going to be using the mocha chili with our chicken apple sausages. We'll be using the Texy taco for our Texy Mary. It's really a fabulous thing. Once that's mixed together, then we're going to just begin to add the dry ingredients right into the wet, or depending on which bowl you're using, you could add the wet right into the dry. We're not going to want to mix it too much though. That's one of the things we tend to do wrong with what would be called a quick bread, such as a pancake, because we're not really wanting to get much of that gluten stimulated. We're just going to want to get it mixed until the dry ingredients no longer are apparent, and let it be and call it good. Meanwhile, I have a skillet that is on the stove. We want to get that heated up. Our oven is heating as we go. We're going to want to get a skillet that is an oven-proof skillet. And again, that can be any number of things. Most nonstick skillets these days are oven-proof, at least going up to about 500 degrees. We're at 425, so we're good to go. I love cast iron. Many of you know that. Some of the reason is because I have an induction cooktop, so I need to either use a stainless or a cast iron, but I'm just in love with cast iron. It's just such a heritage for me. Much of my cast iron comes from my grandma, so there's all kinds of special aspects that go with that. I'm going to just be heating that. I've sprayed the pan already with just a little bit of a non-stick spray, and then you have a choice. You can either add a little bit of canola oil. This is one place. I don't use olive oil, although you all know I tend to use it in almost everything. But because I'm not wanting any flavor coming from that olive oil, I want it to be relatively flavor neutral, either using a canola oil, a grapeseed oil, or just an unsalted butter, and that's what I use with that today. Just a small amount. Allow it to heat in the pan, which will happen very quickly. One more little stir to this pancake, and then let that just go right into the pan. Now what's going to happen with this is we're going to let it cook on top of the stove just for about a minute. Again, we have the oven heating. That it's going to allow the bottom to begin to brown and get a little bit of a crispiness and an edge to it, which is lovely. You'll see that when we actually get it out of the pan. We'll allow it to start cooking just until we see a little bit of bubbles forming. Not so different than if you're cooking a traditional pancake. You wait for just a little bit of bubbles to form. It tells you that the heat is really happening and things are starting to happen. That's when we'll slip it into the oven. And again, at that point, we don't worry about it much. That's when we're going to turn and start doing the apples. That's when we're going to turn and start making our Texy Mary. But right now, we're just allowing it to cook just right here on the stovetop, again, just for about a minute. And Nicole, if you come in, you'll see that's exactly what's starting to happen. Little bubbles are starting to appear. It's starting to come all the way around it. That's my sign that, yeah, we've got some magic happening here, and also my sign to get the oven open and get this in for it to finish its cooking. I said that you could get all of these ingredients mixed together. What I would tend to do is I would get the dry ingredients mixed together the night before, get the wet ingredients mixed together the night before, and then right before you get ready to get it into the oven, all you have to do is just that quick whisk. So it's a really easy way to kind of get ahead of the game. It does do pretty well with leftovers, but you lose that kind of puffiness and that kind of excitement that goes right with it. So again, get ahead of it in a different kind of way. And speaking of getting ahead of it, we're gonna clean our little workstation here a little bit, and then we're going to move right on to our apples.
And while you do that, I thought it was interesting what you just said about getting your dry ingredients combined and getting your wet ingredients combined. Do you find that in a lot of recipes you can do it ahead as long as you keep the wet and the dry separate?
Absolutely. Yeah, once you get it together, you start to kind of change. A little bit of the chemical reaction starts to happen, but if you can keep it separated, you can kind of get ahead of it, as I said, in a really nice way. let's get our apples going. Any kind of apple will do. The only apple that I don't tend to want to cook with is Red Delicious apples. Red Delicious apples were most definitely made for storage and made to have in grocery stores for a long time. They're not very high on flavor. They're not very high on moisture. So this is a Gala apple, a Fuji apple. You could use a Granny Smith apple, whichever one that you particularly like. And by the way, we are using a really special knife, and it's a knife that is going to have an opportunity to come to one of you that is watching us tonight. You want to tell them about that, Nicole?
Yeah, as you know, every month Cutco Cutlery does this amazing giveaway with PS Flavor where they give away one of their knives, the sharpest knives we've ever used. We just love using them.
I love them.
And this month they are giving away the Petite Santoku, and you can watch it going through those apples beautifully.
Like magic, right?
And what we're asking you to do in order to enter the giveaway is post a picture on the PS Flavor Club Facebook group of your puff pancake meal by December 31st. So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So post a picture. If you are in the picture, you'll get an extra entry, and then we will notify the winner on Facebook or email to let you know that you have a Petite Santoku coming your way. And not just any Petite Santoku, red handle with a PS Flavor Club engraved
yes,
logo.
Indeed, which we love in so many ways. All I was doing was just quick action with coring those. Then because this knife is so amazing, I'm coring them in a way that's letting me keep a nice flat surface. Again, the goal whenever you're cutting is to have that flat surface so that you're keeping some safety in play as well. Just literally, you're right, Nicole, it just slices right through. And the goal is to slice the apple and not your fingers.
So looking for a flat surface and then holding your fingers back to keep it steady.
Yeah, and you always hold your fingers in a way that there's nothing protruding, right?
Okay.
Quick action. Now, we talked about getting ahead with the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. You can also get ahead with the apples or pears or whatever fruit you might be using. They will brown a bit, so you want to just put a little touch of fresh lemon, or because we're using orange in this, I would just do a little spritz of orange juice on it. The acidity that's within the fruit will prevent the browning action, the enzymatic browning that takes place in apples. And then you could even do these the night before. So you see, we're getting the absolute best of make-ahead strategy. You can get your sausages sliced. You can even do a little bit of curing with them. We're using the Mocha chili. You could even put those on the night before. Very similar to the dry rub that many of you saw us do for our November class, and what I did for the turkey. Getting a spice blend onto bacon or turkey, or bacon or sausage the night before does this little bit of overnight curing that just gives these incredible flavors. And then that morning you get up and again do some quick action, either in the oven or what we'll do today is just into the pan.
Now, as I'm watching you slice these, it looks like they're not exactly paper thin, but certainly thin.
Yeah, not looking for paper thin. That's not necessary at all because we're going to be cooking them. And in that cooking, we're going to be wanting to keep some of the textures still in play. And you notice I'm keeping the peel on as well because I really want that flavor to be in place also. So we've got about 3 cups of apples, which is about 3 apples, depending on what your size is. Again, if I was doing pears, I could either slice them as I did with these, or you could dice them. Either way, if you're doing berries, there's really no work you have to do at all, rather than just a really quick rinse or cutting the stem off the strawberry. And Jenna, it looks like we have a question.
Yes, some of our viewers are all about making their prep ahead of time.
Yes.
Any way to save time, right?
Right.
And we have someone who would like to know if this recipe would keep well in the freezer. For example, if you wanted to make several batches ahead of time, make extra.
So similarly, we're talking about of the whole apple pancake. So I will tell you, this is interesting because many of you know I did a lot of work with Cracker Barrel for years, trying to help them put their toe in the sea of wellness. And this is a recipe we worked really hard on because I just thought it would be amazing to come to the table in a small little personal skillet. We tried a lot of ways to do exactly that, to get ahead of it and actually make it. You can do it. You can actually make it, take it out of the oven, let it cool, get it into a Ziploc bag or really well covered in the freezer, then pull it out, let it come to thaw, generally in the refrigerator the night before, and then slip it into the oven. You don't have quite the texture, quite that lightness, because anytime you're freezing a product that is really just eggs with a little bit of baking soda, you're not going to have that same risability you would have with if you were doing a yeast risen product. Not so different than freezing pancakes after you've made them. It's almost a very similar process. What I would do instead is get the mixture, the dry mix, as I said, already mixed up, so then you could just quickly have it all put together. I've heated the pan, and I've heated it really quickly while I've been talking. I'm going to add those apples to it, not adding any added butter or oil or fat to this at all. I'm just going to let the natural juices that are in the apples start to come out using a nonstick pan, and I sprayed a little bit of nonstick spray into it as the recipe calls for. I'm going to let that cook relatively quickly, but at the same time allowing some caramelization to take place. That's what happens with the apples or with the pears or with the peaches, whatever fruit that you might be using in its place. Once they start to soften and get a little juicy, I'm going to add our My Chai to this as well, and I'm going to add a little bit of orange juice and some honey as well to make it almost a syrupy kind of goodness. This you can do in advance, so for those people that are crazy about getting far in advance, this is something that's quite easy to do. You can have this actually as a little bit of a compote even that goes on other things besides this alone. I love apple compote. You can put some cranberries in this if you chose to. Again, cherries are beautiful with it as well. Anything to give it, again, that little bit of seasonal specialness that kind of goes with it all.
Okay, so you're getting the apples going, you're cutting an orange, and what are you doing with the orange?
I'm going to add it to the apples right towards the end when I'm adding the My Chai and adding the honey. Again, it just gives that little bit of juice that gives that syrupy goodness, as I talked about before, which is really fantastic. So Nicole could probably speak to this dish as much as anyone because it's not just the brunch we do in this particular holiday coming up. It's actually a brunch we do for Mother's Day. We do for any kind of special time. We have a lot of family around. It's kind of a fan favorite.
And when Pam Smith is your mother, as I get to be honored to say, I even get it as my birthday meal.
That is, it's a request.
It's always my request.
Always the request.
Needless to say, we knew it had to be a P.S. Flavor Cooking Club meal.
Well, I kind of really loved the idea of knowing how busy everyone was, of doing something that, again, could be so applicable for the holiday itself, but also kind of show something that's very trendy and fun, which is, again, that breakfast for dinner notion. That same idea of trying to move into some easy moments is what we're going to be doing in our winter classes, because we're really looking towards doing almost one-pot meals. We're going to be doing a chili in January. We're going to be doing a beautiful sheet pan dinner that's all done on one pan in the oven. And we're going to be doing a pasta dish that's a one-pot pasta dish that has beautiful vegetables and spices. So again, I think it's time for us to move into whatever we can do that's delicious, nutritious, and easy all at the same time. You see how the apples are just starting to soften and starting to brown just a little bit. That's exactly what we're looking for. And while that's happening, I'm going to mix up this citrus maple yogurt sauce. It's a sauce that we're going to use to drizzle on top of this puffed apple pancake with a beautiful chai spice. And yes, we're using a little chai in here as well. Also going to be putting some orange juice into this. About a half a cup of orange juice goes into this. Either you could use what comes. Actually, that is not going to give me much juice. We might be using lots of it. Either what comes actually in your carton that comes from the stores. There we go. Now we've got some orange juice coming. Or you can use a fresh orange like we're doing here.
Now, I know with lemons and limes, you do a little pop in the microwave to get the juices to really start flowing in it. Do you do the same with oranges?
I do. It's a shame that I didn't.
Oh, sorry to call you out on that.
That's all right. Because it really does make such an incredible difference all the way through. You want to try to pop it in?
Yeah, let's
see
do
just really
it.
what happens. It's amazing because when you pop it in just for that 30 seconds, you get this incredible release of the juice. Microwave tends to cook from the inside out, which is why you don't lose nutritional value. To the contrary, in some ways you actually release more of the nutrition that comes from it. So
you pop it in for 30 seconds?
30
Is that what you do?
seconds.
Okay. So
Yeah.
lemon, limes, and oranges.
And oranges, even clementines. Clementines have a lot of juice going for them. And just that little bit.
Ooh, I can't wait to see. It's like a science experiment.
It really is, isn't it? Very, very fun.
All right.
Here we go, people. I'm not even going to have to use that because I can tell already. Watch this.
Oh my goodness.
Such a difference,
Thank you, microwave.
right?
Yes.
Thank you, microwave. It's a little warm. But just a half a cup is all we're looking for in this. Enough to give us just that little extra boost of flavor into this yogurt. The yogurt is a Greek yogurt.
Just a plain or vanilla?
Plain yogurt. We're going to be adding some vanilla to this. This is my absolute go-to sauce for French toast, for pancakes. It's delicious just to eat on its own. It's wonderful to use as a base for overnight oats. That little bit of orange juice together with a little bit of maple syrup. We use about a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. There's something magical about pure maple syrup. We're not talking Log Cabin or Aunt Jemima here. We're talking about just a pure maple syrup that is just as natural as it can come. Together with the orange, it just gives such a beautiful flavor, together with a little bit more vanilla, either vanilla extract or we're using the vanilla bean paste again. And what makes it extra special, of course, is this is my chai. Now, through the years, I've made this 4 years, long before my chai was part of our life, and I would use cinnamon and nutmeg. But when we decided we could use my chai, oh my gosh, the clove, the cardamom, the turmeric, it just gives this beautiful, beautiful depth of flavor. It's absolutely delicious. And
Well,
yes, it needs a taste.
As our vanilla spice girl says, if you have a problem, my chai solves it. I think that definitely happens here.
Oh my gosh, you just can't even imagine how good that is.
Oh, it looks amazing.
It does indeed.
Now, I will say that when I'm in a quick need for a snack, what I've found myself doing is just cutting an apple and sprinkling my chai on it. Even without cooking, it somehow becomes like an apple pie.
I know, you did that just this morning, actually. And
I
I'm
did.
like, wow. Again, it smells so good. I used a little bit of that orange, so I'm going to just take the rest that I didn't quite squeeze in. Again, the juice is phenomenal. This could be lemon, it could be lime, but since I'm already using orange, I like to kind of stay consistent with that. Then we're going to add just a little touch of honey to this to sweeten it. Don't need much because we've got that beautiful citrus maple yogurt sauce that's coming, but look at the little syrupy goodness. The only thing it's missing, my chai. So you see we have it just in layers of flavor. We're going to have a little touch in the pancake itself. We'll have some in the apples that are going to be filling that pancake, and then we'll also have some in the yogurt sauce that will be topping it. And those are done.
Wow.
So again, could add some cranberries to them, some dried cherries, anything that you'd like to give it a little more pizzazz. Blueberries are beautiful to apples as well, but we're going to leave it just as it is.
And you could really even put this over French toast. You could put it over oatmeal. Just
Yes.
about any brunch item you could imagine. Those
Exactly.
apples look ready for it.
Works really, really beautifully. I'm going to take a little peek in here, and you can see
Oh, wow.
that it's already starting to kind of do its little puff action. I'm going to let that go just a little bit longer. It's only been in the oven about 14 minutes, so we're going to look for just a little bit longer to go with it. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and get the preparation in play for our Mocha chili sausages. Now, love chicken sausages. These are chicken apple sausages. We said even in our grocery list that there's a couple of kinds that we like. This one is al fresco, which I really particularly love. I love it because it's lower fat, it's lower in sodium, it's natural in its ingredients, not loaded with a lot of preservatives, and so for that reason, really, really love using it. I try to not cook my apples anymore and instead get this pan starting to heat. The key with this is to toss these sausages in just a little bit of spice. We're using Mocha chili, which together with the sweetness of the apples and again that incredible perfume action that's in the Mai Chai, the chili just gives a really nice kind of a blending. Literally just going to coat it with it. Mocha chili, as you would imagine, has a little bit of cocoa in it. It has some espresso in it, some beautiful chili. It's not overly spicy, just has a lot of really beautiful flavor to it all the way through. Just going to get those nice and coated while our pan is heating.
And we've been asked for a reminder on the oven temperature and how long.
It should be in at 425 and it should be in for about 20 minutes.
Okay, 425, about 20 minutes. Okay, so we've got our puff pancake cooking. We've done our apples. We've mixed up our yogurt sauce. And now we have seasoned our chicken sausages. And now we get to cook them.
Just heating up the pan. And Spice Girl Jenna, there's a question.
There is. Is there any way that an egg replacer could work in this recipe? Would it still puff up and rise appropriately?
Yeah, you'd want to use, although I use a lot of different things for egg replacers. You've heard me talk about using aquafaba, which is the liquid that's in chickpeas. It's a beautiful egg replacement. In this particular recipe though, because we're using so much, we're using actually 5 eggs. It would be a lot to do, so you'd be better to use a commercial egg replacer. So again, as I mentioned, you could either use an egg beater type product or all egg whites, or you could use a plant-based egg replacer, which works out beautiful. And there's some really incredible ones coming down the pike, actually. Impossible Foods, many of you are very familiar with. They've created some incredible burgers that are all plant-based. They're also working on an egg replacer. There's another one that's coming out that's called Simply Best. So a lot of different egg replacers for those that are trying to avoid any kind of animal products.
So what I've seen you do with these sausages, thank you for that answer, is you cut them in half, you seasoned them primarily on the flat side.
Right.
And then you laid them in your very, very hot pan, flat side down.
Right.
And then you used the leftover seasoning because you can never waste.
Never waste.
Never waste Mocha chili. And you sprinkled it on top. So now
Exactly.
how do you know when to flip?
I can almost smell it. See what happens? You start to get that beautiful charring action, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Some people would call it burnt, I call it charred, and that's really what I'm looking for in terms of flavor. You're wanting to bring out, heat tends to activate the essential oils that are in spices. So when you get, and these are already cooked, so all that we're doing instead, just trying not to cough with those beautiful spices, and instead just get that beautiful searing action on. Once you do the flipping, I'm going to turn the oven off and just let it continue to heat on the other side. So the searing action was what we were wanting on the front.
Okay, so you heard it here first, people. If someone comes in and says you burned it, you tell them you didn't burn anything, you charred it.
You charred it. You brought flavor in. Charring is flavor. It's one of the big things that's come. I actually had one of the demos at the Food and Wine Festival this year where one of our incredible chefs did a topping with burnt bread. Absolutely burnt bread to be a topping that went on top of a granola. It was crazy good, and you would think, well, no, you don't want to burn things, but again, charring, it's what it's all about. Okay, we've had our puff pancake in for just about 19 minutes, so I'm gonna get in here. I'm gonna take a little bit of a look at it.
How do you know? Yeah, what are you looking for?
So I'm looking for it to do just that. I'm looking for it to kind of spring back to touch, right? I'm gonna pull that right out. It's a very heavy pan.
Oh, and I see how it's pulled away from the sides.
Another sign that it's ready to go.
See how it's pulled away right there, the pancake from the pan.
Once out, we're gonna take our apples that we've already sauteed and just add those right onto the top of it, which is gonna cause it to just start to depress a little bit in the middle. It's not depressed, it just starts to depress.
Beautiful. Now, one of the things I love about this puff pancake is the presentation of it. And especially in that cast iron skillet.
Yeah, it's just really, really beautiful. I do have a large platter here that I'll oftentimes, if I'm wanting to present it in a different way, I'll slip the puff pancake right out of the skillet, which happens very easily. You literally, just with your spatula, can lift it right out. But I love serving it in the cast iron skillet. I think it just gives such a beautiful presentation, and it also keeps the heat in, which is really nice. Spice Girl Jenna, question.
Yes, this is more of a personal question, but if you were gonna make this for a larger crowd and you were doubling the batch, would you recommend using 2 pans or just one larger pan?
2 pans for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do. Oftentimes we'll have about 3 of them going all at one time. If you have a few skillets, that's a good thing. I have done it in a sheet pan before, so again, it's very difficult to do a much larger pan that's still going to fit into the oven, but a sheet pan can work. You just need to have one that's got the classic jelly roll pan that has some nice sides to it, and then it can be a little bit more laid out. It's kind of a sheet pan pancake, if you will, but it still puffs up. But in general, especially if I'm using cast iron, I would do a couple of pans. Great question. That was a personal question?
That was.
Okay, good. Okay, so while that is just kind of resting for just a little bit, time to do a little Bloody Mary action. Now, again, this is our version of a Bloody Mary. It's a Texy Mary, and it's really, really fun to do. All that it's doing is taking advantage of the deliciousness that comes in our Texy taco seasoning. This was brought to us by a friend that said, you know, I love that Texy taco, but all I think about is making a Bloody Mary with it. And we said, you know what? That's exactly what we should do. Easy to do. It's classic kinds of ingredients that go in, but what makes it that little extra special is, again, being able to use the Texy Mary. And you see the basic ingredients. If you were doing this for a crowd, just like we've been talking about, I sometimes set up a Bloody Mary bar when I'm doing a brunch, but oftentimes I'll go ahead and mix up the ingredients for a pitcher of the Bloody Mary, or in this case, the Texy Mary kind of concoction, and then have just your garnishes and have your glassware and ice so that people can come, get their ice into the glass and just pour their own. If you're going to be doing it to order, that's exactly what we're going to be showing you now. And it's a pretty easy kind of recipe. It's using a tomato juice. You could use a V8. Don't really need to get a spicy one nor get a Bloody Mary mix because we're going to be adding our own spice to it. We're going to be adding a little bit of horseradish, because I love horseradish, in a Bloody Mary, or Texy Marys, as the case might be. We're going to be adding some of our Texy taco, about 2 teaspoons of that, and then have a little extra that you can rim your glasses with, and then whatever amount of vodka you want. We're using 3 tablespoons, which is a little bit more than a shot, about 1.5 ounces. And you can do this by putting it into a shaker, or if you want to try to make it just as easy as can be, just get a little ice in your glass.
And this is one of those things that I love. We have these cooking class videos, because when I read the instructions for making cocktails, sometimes I don't understand exactly what they're wanting us to do, but to be able to see it, it comes together like that.
Really, really easily. We have it all in our glass, so all we're going to do with another glass is literally just pour it in and then pour it right back in. Again, shakers, you can shake it like you stole it, or you can just use the back and forth action. Now, if you'd like to put just a little bit of a hot sauce, a little Cholula, which I love, it's my favorite hot sauce, little touch of Worcestershire sauce works out awesome too. And again, just keep pouring it back and forth. What you're doing is you're allowing that ice to do its little bit of a dilution that goes with it. Now you can serve it just like this. You could take your glass, the empty glass, and actually rim it. Put a little bit of lime juice in a dish, such as we have here, and maybe with, let's cut a little bit of a lime, and we'll do exactly that. Let's do our little bit of our small little glasses. Literally just put that little lime right on, put a little bit of your Texy taco into a dish, and you find a perfect little rimming. And then every time you take a drink, you've got a perfect little taste of the Texy taco. Then, literally, just pour your Bloody Mary, making somewhat of a mess.
I'm going to say,
right
though,
into it.
that is skill. Mine probably would not have even made it into that glass.
Then you can do your little bit of a garnish. It could be a celery. It could be a pickled okra. There's some little baby cucumbers that you can also get if you'd like to do a little bit of a cucumber spear. That can work out perfectly. Any kind of garnish, pickled green beans, whatever you tend to like to garnish with works out beautifully. And of course, could also do just a little wedge of lime for the side. So again, whether you're serving a adult size or whether you're serving just a little small one, it just really is a very fun thing to have, and again, very festive indeed.
And just a fun little shooter to have with
Just
the meal.
a fun little shooter to have. And yeah, you could make it zero proof as well. It's fun, right? So that's your Texy Mary in so many ways.
So you've sliced a few little oranges for the plate that you're going to plate on.
Right.
You've got your little Texy Mary for each person. And then where do you go next?
So we're going to go ahead and cut our puff pancake. And see how our temperature is. And again, you can go ahead and get this onto a plate, as I said, and just serve it at the table. Or if you're wanting to do individual servings, generally this will serve anywhere from 6 to 8, depending on the sizes that you're cutting.
Or if you're Pam's daughter, 2.
You actually love this. Eat it up and left
I
over,
do.
right?
I like it the morning you make it. I like it the next day for as long as we can keep.
Look at how great that looks, right?
So delicious.
We're going to add just a few We actually have a little bit of kale, so I'm going to put that on the plate as well, just to give a little bit of green. We're going to add some of our beautiful sausage to this as well. How's that looking?
Lovely. I like how you kind of make the X for the sausage. It gives it a little bit of height, a little depth.
X marks the spot. And then all that's left to do is just a little bit of drizzle. Now you could put this particular yogurt sauce into a squeeze bottle, or you can just quite simply just do a little bit of a dollop of it on top and serve lots on the table, because people just love to add to it. And I have known one Nicole that likes to just eat it by the spoon. So really awesome. For kids, it's great to serve just with some berries. Really, really fantastic. And there we
Beautiful.
have our brunch. How about it?
Love that. Apple Chai Puff Pancake, Mocha chili sausage, and our Texy Mary.
So
Time
fun.
for a breakfast for dinner.
I think it is. We're really excited. We're so excited that we were able to do this. We're so excited that the internet stayed on.
Yes.
It did, didn't it?
Yes. Thank you, Glenn from Spectrum.
Oh, yes. Glenn from Spectrum really made it happen in so many ways. And we're excited about that.
And we're also excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
Yes. So coming up next, in 2019, I don't know how we're almost there, but in 2019, January 22nd will be our first class of 2019. So save the date, and that is when we'll be bringing back Warm Winter, which many have been looking forward to. It's got all those smells, flavors of winter with cinnamon, orange, chili. It is just delicious. So we hope you'll join us as Pam over here makes a Warm Winter chili January 22nd.
Warm winter chili, and you might be thinking cinnamon and cocoa in a chili. Well, that's called Cincinnati chili. And some of our friends and family that live in the Cincinnati area are going, yeah, go Skyline, or maybe they're saying go Gold Star. Well, this is with a little bit of a difference, but the flavor is very reminiscent of that Cincinnati kind of chili. We're serving it over a spaghetti squash, so we're kind of getting out there a little bit, but really, really fun.
And probably without the pound of cheddar cheese that comes at those Cincinnati.
Maybe not the
locations.
pound, but it'll be really, really
Well,
fantastic.
amazing job. Thank you for being with us.
Yes.
Thank you for finishing out the fall club with us. We haven't mentioned, but in case you don't have your printed recipes that you've gotten through the booklets, or you would like, we have done a compilation cookbook, our very first PS Flavor cookbook, and it is on pre-sale now. You can get it at psflavor.com. It is called The Flavor Kitchen.
And it's all 12 months of our 2018 of these very cooking classes. And what's amazing is there's also the link so that you can go straight to the cooking class. You have to type it in.
Yes.
Doesn't come from the printed page. But
That's true.
it's
You have
out
to
there.
type it in, but you can watch the live class for each recipe. 12 recipes, but with 12 meals comes 42 recipes of individual sides, salsas, all the goods. So thank you for being here with us.
Yes.
Such a pleasure.
Happy holidays to you and yours. May they be filled with wonder and awe and everlasting joy. Bon appetit and cheers.